Previously, Hiraku was reincarnated in another world with the blessings of farming, where he tamed some wild dogs and got a demon spider as a resident. But one day he saved Lucy as she unknowingly stepped in his territory. Hiraku was living all alone, so he proposed to Lucy to stay with him, but she thought Hiraku literally wanted to marry him. Realizing what he just said, Hiraku didn't clear the air and got a nice vampire wife, but she was on the run from Angel Tia because Lucy had messed up with a noble. Tia wanted to take her back, but seeing a nice and comfortable life in this village, she also started to live with Hiraku and Lucy and started to do farming. But later on, Tia brought back some wandering elves. Those elf girls had lost everything in the war, including male elves, so the girls wanted to settle down to make babies to revive their elf clan. But the only male in the village is Hiraku. So, let's continue the story. Those elves built a new giant home for Hiraku. The interior and other furniture were nicely built, and everyone got their own personal room. But there was one room with a lock, and Hiraku saw that room was for making babies, so Hiraku didn't pay it any mind and started to farm out some spices in the fields. He planted some turmeric and coriander, along with cilantro plant, so the dogs were excited to try that cilantro, but after smelling it they ran away. So Tia and Lucy took a note of that and disappeared to research cilantro plant because it could scare even an inferno wolf, so only Leah showed up to help Hiraku to cook curry. They started to cook the meat and used the spices in the leftover oil, then they added other ingredients for the flavor and the smell started to attract everyone. And with that they left the curry to get cooked with the meat, but Hiraku felt something missing and instantly he remembered the naan is the missing piece. So Hiraku hurriedly gets to make naan and made enough for everyone, so now everything was ready, he serves it out to everyone. But others were a bit hesitant to try out curry because of its strange color. But after having a bite of the curry with naan, they become addicted and finish off the whole curry without leaving anything for our Hiraku. Then now the winter was approaching. So Hiraku was preparing for the winter and started filling up the storage, and the elves were focused on their forgery, while Tia and Lucy were drying the meat with magic, which Hiraku envied because he couldn't use magic himself, and with that the winter came, so Hiraku built some indoor games to pass the time, so Lucy and Tia got on fire to play reverse. The game was on Tia's side, so Lucy cheated to flip the game board so she wouldn't lose, but Tia was smart enough and used magic to continue the game from where they had left off. Well, aside from them, even Kuro joined the fun and started to ace the game, so Lucy thought she won't lose at least against Wolf, but it was an obvious loss. So this time Hiraku got into the game and even he lost against Kuro. With that win and loss they spent their time and the spring came. But suddenly a wyvern was heading towards the village to attack them, so Hiraku wanted to protect everyone and suddenly his farming tool changed into a spear. So Hiraku gives it a try and his spears pierced through the 3-layer barrier of that wyvern and killed it in the smoothest way. So Hiraku took that wyvern into his kitchen and made nice wyvern dishes for the girls. The meat was tender and everyone liked it. But this feat drew the attention of the demon generals, who became wary of Hiraku's power, but they were not the only ones. The dragons also heard this news and became wary of Hiraku's power. But Hiraku was thinking of making a batch of wine. While alcohol exists in this world and everyone was eager to make it, they began to stomp on the grapes, but Tia slipped out. They didn't have a rhythm, so the elf began to sing a song they all sang while working in a village. And with that they extracted the grape's juice and the only thing left to do was to let it ferment in barrels. Then on another day, Kuro and his pack caught another intruder, but she turned out to be Lucy's sister. Her name was Flora, so Hiraku made a nice meal as a way to apologize for Kuro and his pack. She loved the meal, especially the tofu, but Hiraku says the miso and soya sauce could make it even better, so Flora left to research the soya sauce Hiraku mentioned. And then one day she came back and brought back a bunch of her maids to move in with them, and seeing them, Tia realized that Lucy and demons were too many. Along with Kuro and his pack, and also elves had their group, but there was no angel in the village like her. So Tia brought back 3 angels with her to guard the village and also a few lizard men for manual labor, but after them, even more elves showed up to move in the village, and now, with the growing population, this place had become a proper village, so Hiraku gathered everyone to decide on a name for this village. Their Zabuton told Hiraku to open the door, and as he did, Hiraku realized and came up with the name, the Great Tree Village, and it was like the founding day of this village, so they threw a big celebration at night to celebrate their new home. So they all decided to make Hiraku the chief of the village, and their Bezel came to the village. He brought a nice gift for them and wanted to discuss the status of this village because it falls under the Demon King's territory. So Hiraku offered 10% of the annual harvest as tax and told Bezel to send his men to collect it every year. Bezel happily agreed and signed the contract. Then Hiraku gave a little gift to Bezel before he left, and their girls were impressed by Hiraku because he handled the matter too easily, since normally the tax rate is around 50%. But Hiraku settled on only 10%, but Bezel agreed to this contract because he was actually scared of them. Lucy and Tia, they were known as Vampire Princess and Angel of Annihilation. And also they had army of elves and the Inferno Wolf, so Bezel didn't dare to refuse their offer. But after them, the dragons came with a nice gift too for introduction. Drime was nervous at first. But after a meal and a dose of wine, he unwinds and loses his brains. Then Hiraku realized that there will be many visitors coming to this village from now on. So he consulted with the elves to build a guest house for them, and soon a few travelers came to the village, but Lucy warned them not to leave their companion behind before they enter the village. They all came from the howling village of beastmen. Gulf was the group's leader, and he showed them their village produced paints, silverwares, glassworks, and metalworks. And they want to exchange this for the food Hiraku grows. Hiraku agreed and settled their trade. Then the day came for their first trade. And Drime agreed to take them to the Howling Village in exchange for wine, but after their visit, Tia told Hiraku that the village chief of Howling Village offered to send a few people to help in the farm, and they were all ladies. So Hiraku told him to bring a few young men along because he was the only guy in the village, and the village chief agreed and sent a few nice ladies to the village. But the men they sent were all actually kids. Soon after that, 3 dwarfs showed up at the village and they were interested in the wine. They have the method to produce alcohol, and that's the only thing all the ladies of this village love above all else. Dwarfs instantly made some alcohol as an example of their work. So they threw a little celebration again at night to welcome Donovan and his friends, but after that, on another day a new dragon was heading to the village. Hiraku was ready to attack, but Drime stopped that other dragon, so Hiraku holds back. But another dragon was about to attack from behind, so Hiraku attacks it first and the dragon barely dodged the attack. So their Drime's assistants stopped Hiraku in time, or else he could have killed them. It turns out the 2 dragons were Drime's wife and daughter. They had grown suspicious of Drime because he always sneaked out of home every night and thought Drime had an affair, but actually he always came to this village to drink alcohol. So Lasti and Graflon apologized for trying to attack this village to Hiraku, and now that that was sorted out, Hiraku leaves to do his job. And Graflon understood why Drime was trying to build a relationship with Hiraku. The spear he threw could have killed Graflon, but the spiders saved her because they were old friends. Graflon understood Hiraku was overpowered, so she told Lasti to stay in this village to make sure Hiraku won't turn hostile towards dragons. So Hiraku gave Lasti the diplomatic work and their Bezel was there to order a batch of fruits. But he got pale seeing now even the dragon had joined this village, and with her Hiraku had power to even wage a war with the Demon Kingdom. So he sends out his daughter Freroum to investigate their military power secretly. So Lasti started to show her around the village, but Lasti had to deal with some other matters, so she leaves. And getting the chance, Freroum started to snoop around and saw this village not only had dragon, but Vampire Princess, Angel of Annihilation, elves and demon spiders and Inferno Wolf. So she wanted to meet the person who leads them, but their Hiraku meets her and Freroum left without any greeting because she thinks humans were weak. But Lasti told her that Human was the leader of this village who's powerful enough to even defeat her mother, so from that day on she got too scared of Hiraku. But our video comes to an end for today, but stay tuned to watch another part of this anime. But till then, subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates of our channels. Till then, take care.